Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN. Brian Winnekins at NAFB Convention. Thank you to our sponsors, including Elsivia Co-op, Annabis Silo, Animal Wellness Center of Buffalo Valley, Compeer Financial, Osteoplastics, Synergy Co-op, Wisconsin Farmers Union, Wisconsin Corn Growers Association, and Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board. We're with Neil Caskey, Chief Executive Officer of the National Corn Growers Association, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things corn growers are working on. And Neil, thanks for joining us. Well, when we recorded this, obviously we have a new farm bill, at least for a year, but there is a concern that we need to get the 5-year one done sooner than later.
Yeah, that's right. We at I know Wisconsin Corn and the National Corn Growers Association, we're thankful to have this 1-year extension behind us because you don't want that concern of anything expiring, just kind of hanging out there any longer than necessary. So grateful that we didn't have to bump up into the 11th hour. That's done and go into the president's desk as we're talking right now, and that buys a little bit more time for the committees, the House and the Senate Ag committees, to continue to do their work, and our priorities on the Farm Bill remain the same. We obviously want to protect crop insurance. We want to make sure that the Title I safety net is strengthened, and for that does include a one-time mandatory base acre update. We want to see increased investment in international marketing funding through FMD and MAP, and so we want to continue to see voluntary conservation programs, and so those priorities remain the same. We're going to continue to push for those out in Washington, D.C., and we really need to see a bill finalized in the first quarter of the calendar year of 2024 because it's an election year, and not just any election year, it's a presidential one, and just getting anything passed, no matter how big or small it is, getting anything past an election year is tough. And getting something like a farm bill done as we kind of the year kind of begins to unfold is going to be a lot tougher. So I'm sure if you're talking to anyone here at the NAFB convention, they will echo that sentiment that we got to get it done sooner rather than later.
Talking with Neil Caskey, Chief Executive Officer with National Corn Growers Association. Let's talk a little bit about ethanol and EPA and some of their rules, the E15 rule. Now, we get a win because the states, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Iowa, some of the Midwestern state governors, Republican and Democrats together, said, EPA, we're done. This is what we're doing. You're going to have E15 year-round for us. And EPA even likes to drag their feet on that. But it's a mixed bag from EPA, isn't it?
It is. And so, we're thankful. Going back a couple years, we've had EPA issue some waivers that allowed the stations to continue to sell E15 in the summer months, and then you have some head scratching moves like the tailpipe proposal that they released and proposed back in the spring that effectively mandates EVs. And so grateful for the governors in states like Wisconsin and the 7 others that are kind of taking matters into their own hands and trying to protect that E15 market for consumers in those states, and obviously the farmers that service, that grow the corn, that makes the ethanol, that delivers the E15 in those markets. So E15 is a product that lowers price at the pump, so consumers are saving. And obviously, the more ethanol you use, the higher blends, the more environmental benefit you'll get as well. And obviously, that's just a good, important market for Wisconsin corn farmers. And so, I don't have a good explanation as to why EPA is kind of dragging its feet on that governor request. We are expecting some news and developments in the coming months that will put some closure to that, and we expect a positive result. And so, just grateful for the leadership that we've seen in states like Wisconsin, and hopefully that will, like so many other things that are kind of hanging out there, that will put that concern to rest. I will say, longer term, we think about the prospects for ethanol, and so we continue to see a very bright future for that fuel, and primarily it's because of the Next Generation Fuels Act. That is a bill that a bipartisan bill that we are supporting out in Washington, D.C. That effectively really just raises the octane level in fuel. And so the more octane you have, the more ethanol you use. And so as we just discussed, that is a win-win-win that benefits everybody. And so in the kind of intermediate term, when the effects of the Next Generation Fuels Act start kicking in, that is going to be a great thing for Wisconsin farmers and corn farmers across the land. I would say beyond that, there's a lot of promise in sustainable aviation fuel, and so for that, we're kind of looking out over the next 5 to 10, for that to really take hold. And so we need the right modeling, and so we're waiting on EPA on E15, and now we're waiting on Department of Treasury to make sure that they make the appropriate ruling for modeling that allows for row crops to be used for sustainable aviation fuel. And so obviously, the pipeline is something that factors into that as well, because we got to make sure that we're able to lower our carbon intensity score in a way that keeps ethanol competitive. And so these are all the things that we are working on behalf of Wisconsin's corn farmers out in Washington, D.C. these days.
Neil Caskey, he's the Chief Executive Officer of the National Corn Growers Association. We're at the NAFB convention. I'm Brian Winnikins for WRDN.